Alright, so we've talked about how the brain works to make information stick, how memories with multiple shelves is more likely to remain in the long-term memory. We've learned how the brain changes and builds neural pathways that expand and allow us to retain information, to build our shelves, so to speak. Now, how do I put all this in my classroom? Remember that our goal here is to make the time we spend in our classroom effective in helping students retain the information, not just until the exam, but long after they leave. What we've learned about how our brains work is that we need to provide these students with experiences and opportunities to build and expand their neural pathways, and in that way, build multiple shelves for information and let information move into the interior rooms of the house. The question is, how? Well, one way is by storytelling. Human beings are narrative beings. We respond to stories about ourselves and other people. Why? Because it triggers emotions. Remember my Dick Van Dyke story? The reason why I know so much trivia about Dick Van Dyke is partly because of repetition, which is usually what we rely on in the classroom, but also because of the emotions attached to those memories. Eliciting an emotional response is a powerful way to expand neural pathways, to let information move into the long-term memory, into the back rooms of our house. Now, there are many ways to bring the power of narrative into your classroom. You can do role-playing, you can play games, you can do case studies, problem solving, and most importantly, online interactive branching scenarios, which incorporate all of these. So let me show you an example. This is a branching scenario that we built for our respiratory therapy program to teach students about the ethical framework of being a respiratory therapist. In it, the student is asked at critical points to make a choice about a common patient case. They are invited into the story to play a role, to interact with the situation. The student gets feedback based on their choices. So let's take a look. At this point in the narrative, the patient is deemed to be in a persistent vegetative state, and only care necessary to keep him comfortable is being given. Then, an ethical complication is introduced with the overheard conversation of some family members talking outside of Ricky's room. Apparently, some real estate papers need signed, but Ricky's in no shape to sign them. The student is asked what impact this has on Ricky's care. Choosing the wrong answer results in feedback and being sent back to try again. The student can't go on until they choose the right answer. All the elements of a good story are here. You have a relevant setting. You have realistic characters. You have an interesting problem or conflict. Now, you could ask students to just memorize the correct procedures for an end-of-life case like this, or you could have them actually play a role in one. Which one do you think will cause the information to stick?
So what have we learned here? We've learned that storytelling plus neuroplasticity equals retention. If you want the information you're teaching your students to stick, then we need to make use of how their brains work. Want to talk more about how to do this? Contact CETIS Design. We'd love to help you.
Now, before we end, let us just give a word of caution. There's a lot in the media right now about how the brain works. Some of it, like neuroplasticity and how the memory works, is supported by science. Some of it is not. For instance, no, we don't just use 10% of our brains. Stay tuned for our next Design Time series about this and other learning myths coming in the fall of 2017.
Until then, thanks for watching. Be sure to check out our other Design Time series and other videos on our CETIS Design YouTube channel. Bye everyone! Carolyn! Carolyn! Where are you going? Bye everybody.
Thanks for joining us today. Click on the left to watch the next video in this series, or click on the right to watch another video from our channel. And don't forget to click the center channel icon to subscribe. Thanks for watching.